Sean, could you lead the way perhaps by telling us what your direction of travel, your mission on behalf of CIF and the audience here, what you're trying to achieve in relation to digital journey and tech transformation?
Okay, thanks, Ivan. I think you've probably done a number of the conferences, and I think we were talking before even today, and you said that you'd probably heard a lot of buzzwords, and to a certain extent, it's the graveyard shift, isn't it? And to a certain extent, people feel like he looks at me very forlorn, fair play to you for lasting. People think this is the add-on, is the bit, at the end that we fill the party piece with at the end of the conference. This is...
Tom is the very end. I mean,
you can say that.
So people talk about MMS and BIM and all this stuff, and, there's no doubt the top export companies are at that pitch. What is your objective?
The objective was, initially we saw those companies, that top 150 companies, and they were already doing it. They were really successful. They were applying these lean principles. They were doing best in class. They were being taken from Leixlip here to other sites all over the world. They were doing data centers in other parts of Europe, pharmaceutical factories. They had this really special sub-supply chain. They had off-site manufacturing. They had the leanest ways of doing things. And what I wanted to do initially was to try and get that to transfer across into the rest of the domestic facing sector, but also other sectors of the economy. And I suppose in doing that, what I also wanted to do is try and work out, we talked about, there's lots of problems here still being talked about today. Try and work out, well, what's the problem? And I think Pia, said it really, really succinctly in one of her early kind of statements. It's alignment of interests. And in my kind of concept for looking at policy, initially when I went back into CIF in 2012, is identify the problems that the state has as a result of the way construction is delivered. Identify the problems that the members that we represent, the industry, are saying they have, and then try and join the gap, try and align the two, so that whatever solutions you provide for the public sector, the private sector, the market that you're delivering construction for, lines up with what way the industry is saying, here's how we're broken or fragmented, or you're not supporting us, and this is what we need to do. So the whole journey was about transferring that excellence and getting it into a model, getting some sort of a support infrastructure with whatever it meant, whatever entity the state could put in place, so that there was a trusted kind of conversation between the organs of the state and the representative body within the industry. That was really it. And what's brilliant is, we've been coming to the conference, we have DigiCon as well in the spring, and we've always been talking about what we wanted to do. And what's great is there's people here today that can talk about real parts of that infrastructure that are already in place.
So in terms of, we'll call it the tech footprint of the progress you've made, you have TU Dublin with Build Digital. You have Mount
Lucas,
never seen it, but I want you to tell me about that. And then tell me about the new Construct Innovate.
So we
just in simple layman's
very quickly and very simply, we had an aspiration for 3 parts, which was digital, R&D, and MMC. And we already have Build Digital project in place for a year. That's there. It's mapping out exactly where it's going. It's got a leadership group in place. It's driving forward in 5 different strands. And it has the survey out at the moment. It's been mentioned twice already. The survey is there to sort of say...
Pat Lucy Lucy is still awake. Pat Lucy told me today is the last day of this survey. Is that right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
And I'm listening to you, Pat. Don't worry.
Yeah. And the key point there is, Ivan, there's 2 big things in that. Like the survey is to sort of say, what are we doing at the minute? How capable are we? And it's really important. Most of the voices we hear are the people that are doing it. They're digitally aware, so they understand the project. So try and reach out to a lot of companies that don't touch any digital process, because we need to get to that plastering contractor, that smaller general contractor that's just doing extensions, and understand why or what they're doing at the moment, but also ask them, what do you think you need? What do you think the client or the design team you work with...
How do you access this survey?
The survey is on the Build Digital Project website, builddigitalproject.ie.
Okay.
So that's that one. Second one is in the R&D piece. We have the Construction Technology Centre, and Jamie Goggins is one of the joint leads there with his colleague Magda Hajukovic, and they're from Galway University. They're leading a consortia there in the Tech Centre, which is answering the whole R&D infrastructure. And what's brilliant about that is it's not something that's going to happen way in the future. They're building the overall governance for a national infrastructure for research and construction, but it already exists and they're taking applications, and I'll let Jamie tell you about that. And the third one then is, I suppose, the action that Ross has brought forward in terms of moving some of the internationalised supports into the domestic sector.
Okay, so you don't have to be export to get the grant, isn't that right? Okay, so let's go to the next step, which is someone to advise you and guide you through the application of technology to your SME. And Rob Fox, who is Site Passport? What do you do and how can you help?
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. Yeah, I mean, my background is construction. I spent 20 years working in main contracting, and so I understand construction and the challenges in construction, and the whole conversation around adopting technology and innovation sometimes just melts people's heads. You know, it just sounds like talk, it sounds like waffle. I suppose I have a unique perspective in having had that 20 years experience, but also in the last 5 years building a construction technology company. But as part of that company, we provide this consultancy service. And I suppose what we see, you know, what I saw my experience in construction and now is, you know, the opportunity for some of the greatest innovation is in the pre-construction phase, is in the procurement phase, because that's the time where you get a chance to set a project up for success. And so a lot of the speakers spoke about earlier on in relation to, you know, getting the scope right, getting everything right before it hits site to make sure that you give the contractors, whether it's the large contractors, the SMEs that work for them, a fighting chance of succeeding on that project. So in our role, I suppose, in this you know, landscape, I suppose a big part of what we do is we try and help the larger contractors reach out to the supply chain. You know, companies that they may not have worked with before, who might be using systems and innovations and technologies that they're not aware of. And, you know, there's lots of great supports in relation to carrying out R&D, and, you know, some of the guys will speak that in a while. And some of that's kind of like, you know, in the pipeline, in the innovation pipeline, which is great. And there always needs to be a pipeline, and there needs to be a pipeline of apprentices, and all those things need to be coming down the line. But right now, the best thing you can do to implement and have impact on sites is have an awareness of the available innovation that's out there in the market. So that's what we help with. We help.
So you're like a matchmaker. You get the technology companies. So say I'm a residential that build 30 houses a year in Tullamore, or I'm an electrical contractor doing a lot of sub-supply work. What can you do for me?
Well, I suppose part of what we do is we go in, we deal mainly with the larger contractors, with the main contractors. But what we go in is we go in and have do an assessment with those companies of how they're managing their supply chain, how they're engaging with their supply chain, and how they can improve that engagement with those smaller companies, and reach out to them and bring them into the fold to try and learn about what they're doing. And
like who in the supply chain? Your engineer, your design people?
Yeah, no.
Is it the guy delivering the cement, the builder's merchant?
It's largely the subcontractors, you know, because, you know, everybody knows in construction, the subcontractors carry out the vast majority of the work, and they are the companies who are the specialists in their area. So they're constantly innovating on what they specialize in. So that's where we see a lot of the innovation happening. But at the moment, there are a lot of companies providing innovation in the industry, but they're maybe not getting to reach out to the potential buyers that could be buying their solutions. But a big part of that is that in construction in particular, and I was guilty of this myself when I was a contracts manager, is that, you know, people find it hard to change and trust things they don't know, or trust companies they don't know. And this is part of the problem with the adoption of technology and innovation. It's like, it's change management. I don't really know what that means. What does that look like when we get to the end? So a big part of what we do is help people understand that journey, but also in this communication and this engagement between the main contractors, the property developers, and these subcontractors and suppliers is actually, it's providing information through the system. We have a technology platform where this information can be shared within the system that allows people to go, okay, I understand what you do, you know, but gets down to be very granular detail in relation to, you know, competency, compliance, capacity, all those questions that if you don't know a contractor, if you don't know a product, you want to understand it, you want to get familiar with it, and you want to be able to say, okay, this is a product, this is a solution, this is an innovation that works for us for this project. And it's all about having access to the data.
And how much is all this going to cost me?
It's very, very affordable. We work on a sliding basis that, we will work with contractors from anywhere from 5 million turnover to 500 million turnover. I mean, a company of 500 million has a bigger demand on what we provide. But we're very happy to work with the smaller companies because, everybody needs a leg up. Everybody needs to have some opportunity to accelerate this process of finding out what's in the market, how do I trust it, because I need something on site next week.
How receptive are people who should be engaging with you? Is there a mental block? Is it a cost issue?
It's less of a cost issue. A lot of time it's a change management issue. Sometimes it's a communication issue on our part. We've gotten much better. I was telling you the other day, like I'm a civil engineer, and learning how to communicate to people in relation to what we're providing, is always a learning curve. But I think a lot of it is that people have a fear of change and a fear of going outside their comfort zone. And at the moment, there's so many imperatives that are demanding people go outside their comfort zone and learn about new systems and learn about new technologies. That's the main thing.
Okay, so Ross, if I'm a bit reluctant, are you given 80% grants now from Enterprise Ireland for me to engage with the likes of Rob? Tell us about what Enterprise Ireland is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we talk about digital transformation, I think often people go to that image of those really large, high technology companies that we've talked about. So Colin Construction doing really interesting things with drones, or PM Group doing stuff with augmented reality, Cisco doing stuff with Brick Lane robots, right? And that's your image. And I think my key message is actually digital transformation is for businesses of all sizes. And in fact, the real flywheel effect for our industry is when SMEs start using digital tools at a greater level. So we need to, the people on this stage need to work with companies to demystify that digital transformation doesn't mean an army of coders in hoodies descending on your business and landing you with a big bill at the end of it. Actually, it's using things like our digital discovery grant, which is 80% funded, up to €9,000 for an expert to come into your business. And really what they should be doing is looking at your processes, look at where your management headaches are, like on the tendering side that Rob talks about, and then start saying, well, actually, here's a roadmap of some really simple actions that you can take to save you time or save you money. And then what we can do also is work on those future projects. So on much more sophisticated, elaborate projects, all the way up into the hundreds of thousands of euros worth of grant aid, we can support them too.
And this availability of the grant for the domestic sector is relatively new, is it?
Yeah, so this is a really important one to get across the room. So I'm sure some people may have glazed over when I started talking because Enterprise Ireland is all about exports.
Once you mentioned 80%, you had the whole room eating out of your hand. Carry on.
Well, thank you for that, Ivan. But yeah, we've always been about exports, and we've had hard conversations with domestically orientated businesses in the past. And for the first time in our history, that has changed as a result of Housing for All. So we've been given this new mandate to work with companies in the domestic residential sector. So I want to talk to home builders, general contractors, companies who are manufacturing off-site systems, and we want to get them implementing lean, digital innovation to hopefully contain at least the costs of construction of homes as much as we can.
And tell us, okay, the Discovery Grant, it's really, it sounds straightforward. What else is Enterprise Ireland doing in the construction sector?
Yeah, so our, am I still on there?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, so look, our traditional work still continues, and that's working across the exporting base, which is doing fantastic work in Western Europe. So exports grew by 24% for our construction sector last year, which is just phenomenal. And that pipeline continues to look really strong. So we work with those businesses to continue to develop their capability so that they can continue to win export work. But yeah, on the domestic residential sector, as I said, it's implementation of lean training, for example, and we've a case study just went live this week online with some of the work we've done with Clancy Construction. So please check that out. The implementation of digital tools, so that's smaller grants, but digital process innovation is the name of a more elaborate one. But then R&D funding. So if you have an interesting idea around an innovative product or even process that could bring cost savings or efficiencies to residential construction, we want to hear all about that because that's something that we could fund as well.
Okay, Professor Jamie, tell us about Construct Innovate Consortium. Who is it? Where is it? When did it start? Where is it headed towards?
Yep, thanks. So Construct Innovate is Ireland's National Research Centre for Construction Technology and Innovation. We're very new. We're only established in June of this year, so we're just starting off. But it's a research centre that's made up of 22 research groups at the moment, with over 300 researchers that are involved in research related to the construction and the built environment. So even though we're new, we've been very active in there. So for example, over the last 5 years, that consortium has done about 400 million worth of research projects, and there's been about 100 plus projects done with industry. So we're very active, but what the centre does now is brings us all together as a group. So the consortium has 5 partners in it at the moment. So it's been led by ourselves in the University of Galway. We've got Trinity College in Dublin, University College in Dublin, and UCC, and very importantly, the Irish Green Building Council. So the Irish Green Building Council has 300 members. We will be onboarding those members as members of as members of Construct Innovate. So what's really important to us is basically to get all you to engage with us, because the centre is built on the membership. So the membership are going to be people, stakeholders from the construction sector that are interested in research. So we want members to join. We want you to then influence what the research agenda in the centre is going to be. So what are we going to research about? We want you to be part of the research agenda, so to actually get involved in the research as well, and join working groups and so on. So I think the one word...
Do you have a single website?
Yeah, it's called Construct Innovate.
Do you have a phone line? Do you have an office?
We have, so it's based in the University of Galway. So we have a phone line which will come to, an email address which will come to Magdalena Hadjikevich, who is the co-director of the centre. Actually, if you go...
Do you answer your emails? Do you answer your emails?
We answer our emails, yeah. You can fill in, you can go online and you can fill in a form.
Lots of people in the room don't, but carry on. Yeah.
Well, we've met 30 companies in the last 2 months, so we haven't had to reach out to anyone. They've come to us since things. So we haven't officially launched yet.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making. Is it is in its infancy, in fairness.
It's in its infancy, but we've active people. So we're doing projects all the time. So for example, today I have an email in from a company here in Dublin. They're building a consortium for a European project, and things that were mentioned earlier on today about whole life cycle costing of your housing, whole life cycle carbon of your housing and so on, putting together a consortium on that. That consortium will be made up of that company, ourselves in the university. We will have another couple of partners in Ireland. The idea is that we have a pilot in Ireland. So what we do is we showcase how we can do it so well in Ireland. There will be a pilot in 2 other European countries as well. So it's all about knowledge sharing, it's all about collaboration and so on. So we have the core for the centre and for us is collaboration, knowledge transfer, and accelerating the innovation. And that's across Ireland, but we have access right across Europe. We do loads of European projects. The second email I just read there before I came in is that we just got a grant with US partners on all about advanced manufacturing in the steel industry for making structural steel. So we have experts in robotics from across the US.
So just to be clear about this, because when I hear so many academics are involved, I immediately get worried that you don't have a commercial application. So what we were talking about earlier was the adoption of proven technology. When you talk about research, are you talking about advancing the frontiers of blue sky thinking on certain things? When you say research, what do you mean?
Yeah, we get involved in research from all the way from TRL level, so the technology readiness level 1 up to 9 or 10. So 9 or 10 is on the thing. So for example, if I just think about your journey, if you were into modern methods of construction, panelized systems, and you want to get that onto the market, you might be doing very earlier research, very early innovation to kind of test your product and so on. Then you'll end up getting it into a certification phase where you'll have to get it tested, get it certified. You'll want to get it out onto the market. You want to get it out onto pilot sites and someone to adapt it early. So you want the earlier adapters. So for example, we're involved in this Meta Building Labs initiative right across Europe where we have access to 100 test facilities. So if you want fire testing, acoustic testing, air tightness, weathering, and so on, you come to us. We'll handhold you through the journey to introduce you to bring. But if you know what you want done because you've gone through the journey before, we can tell you which of the labs you can get done in. If you don't know, we can help you which standards to test to and so on. we'll bring it right away from the lab-based to pilot sites. So we've got access to pilot sites across Europe. And then we have also access to real projects. So for example, we've partnership with Social Housing Europe. So lots of social housing that are willing to be early adapters of new technology in there. And that's what you need, because you need to get confidence in products and confidence in it before so that you can get more widely adapted.
Now, the battery's nearly gone on my Slido. I've no questions at the moment, so do get them in real quick before the battery folds. Now, there's also a poll, very important to the organisers of this event, a delegate feedback form. You'll see there's different criteria about were some speakers too long, too short, the relevance of the presentations, the A to Z of it. So please do participate in that, and if you have a question, get it in. Tell us about a bit more about Sean, about Mount Lucas and the Future Skills Academy. Like where I want to go here now is the training element of all this R&D. So you could have someone who's brilliant at an aspect of construction or their firm, but they need to train up their staff. So what's the plan there?
Well, Mount Lucas it's a wee bit more than that, actually. It's probably a really good example of bringing a couple of different challenges together into the same site. Mount Lucas is going to be about expanding the existing training facility there. That's the National Construction Training Centre that's led by Lee Shoffley ETB under Mount Lucas, and the Housing Demonstration Park, which is MMC, a live living lab of the actual demonstration of future housing units.
Is that there to see right now?
That has just been awarded, and they're in the plan and permission stages.
Okay.
They're going to look at exemplary
so you
sites.
could go to this smart house and see everything that was state of the art.
Yeah, you will be able to, and the whole point, it'll be the centre of excellence for future generation of housing construction.
Okay. So
And why not build that with the skills, beside it?
Yeah.
So there's one thing I wanted to say, Ivan, is that it's just funny the way people have sat where they've sat, but we're talking about joining the dots and trying to find solutions to different challenges, but there's three ladies there. Pia is sitting there, I mentioned her before, and her report, and the Manchester model is brilliant because to a certain extent, Ireland as an entire country is not much bigger than Birmingham or Manchester. Behind her is the lady Vivian Esposito, who's one of the kind of authors of the MMC reports that CIF did, and the central kind of intelligence unit that we were building there and put a lot of our own personal time. And then Annette Hughes, she drafted the DDN, the detailed description of needs, that defined the centre that now Jamie's running. So three of them sat, they probably didn't know they were sitting that close to each other, but they effectively specified what has just been built and delivered. And what it'll mean is, in terms of a housing perspective, when you listen to all the challenges earlier on about, people pointing towards cost, legacy issues, the levy that's there, this centre is supposed to be the point of reference that you'll go to when you've got challenges like that in the housing sector. You'll have expertise combined with what Jamie's doing in terms of future research. The whole point will be that you'll have a trusted entity to be able to lean on, to go to and get solutions to avoid those type of future problems.
So I have two questions here from the Slido. Rob, maybe you or anyone. Question for the panel. Is there a need for a BIM mandate for Ireland, similar to the UK, for government-funded projects to drive digital transformation and lean principles that the multinational companies are doing as a normal now?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's probably people who could speak better than me in relation to how effective that's been in the UK. I do think, and I do have a concern that, particularly at some levels, and particularly some levels in government, that if everybody in construction just got on the BIM bus, everything would be okay. And, BIM is really, really important tool of any technology, but, it's seen sometimes as a panacea. And it is the central, nervous system and intelligence system of a design and of a construction project. But I think, people need to start to think about other applications and solutions that can happen around that and other supports that are available to help people explore other areas of technological innovation. And yes, BIM is part of that, but I think the discussion should be broader than just about BIM.
Mandating it UK-wise?
Yeah. Like if you read some of the language in the National Development Plan on BIM, it does call for BIM to be implemented on large projects. It could be stronger language, but then you don't want to entirely leave smaller companies behind yet either. So you have to bring everybody on that journey. We have been grant-aiding BIM for a number of years ourselves, and we'll continue to do that either through our current offerings or through future offerings. So encourage people to check that out too.
Do you want to add anything on that, Sean?
All I'd say is that sometimes it can seem really simple, and people think they've done this in the UK. The best benefit of having the UK beside us is we can watch what they've done and the money that they spend and what goes to waste. And having a mandate is only one thing. It's the signal from government that it's coming. And I think the Build Digital project is the process by which we get there. Just saying it has to happen by a certain date doesn't make it happen.
All right. No one wants to. Do you want to add? Or anything on the training side?
Well, just
do you see, Construct Innovate getting more involved in traineeship?
Well, the traineeship wouldn't be under ours, but we would be involved in skills development, I suppose, because especially at the third level sector, we also will get involved with apprenticeships. So, for example, one of the SECs, Sustainable Energy Communities, we'll be looking with them. They'll have a local trainee program going on, and we'll be looking, to make sure that the state of the art research is feeding into that as well at the same time. So we will be joining in, but our remit isn't skills training per se, but there is skills as part of it. And just on the BIM, I suppose, people when they think about BIM, they think that's a technology. You think about Rivet and so on and that, but actually it's a process of delivering projects as well. That's I think the more important part of it is how you deliver projects. It's obviously digital means to deliver projects, but it's this collaborative. Like the one word I think I have heard most today is about collaboration. So it's collaboration, openness, trust, and so on. So it all feeds in from the contracts to the way you deliver projects all the way through. So it's not just adapt digital tools. Like BIM is a process of delivering projects, which is...
And building relationships, I suppose. Yeah.
And it's built on trust. Trust is massive.
Well, absolutely great way to round off our discussion here today. Ross, Sean, Jamie and Rob, thank you very much indeed. Please show your appreciation, ladies and gentlemen.